others as well, including the Royal Canadian Air Force. There were 3 phases of training in World War II: primary, basic, and advanced. This is an example. These 4 airplanes that you see off to your left that first came by in the diamond formation represent primary training. They are flying the Boeing Stearman. Stearman because Lloyd Stearman invented the airplane, sold to Boeing in 1931, and the Navy was the first service to use the Stearman as the primary trainer. Now look at the formation. If you hold your hand up in front of your face with your palm facing away, tuck your thumb behind in your palm, and you will see 4 fingers. This is that kind of formation. 4 fingers. The finger 4 formation, strong right. And as they go by, looking straight up, a bunny Nathan Hammond, I believe he is the only professional skywriter in all of North America and possibly the world, as he flies his de Havilland Super Chipmunk, a Canadian airplane, and as he carries on a tradition of skywriting that has become basically, if you will, a bit of a lost art. In the first phase of training, in the primary phase, in airplanes like these Stearmans, they would move on to basic training in the Vultee Valiant, nicknamed the Vultee Vibrator, a more complex airplane with some electronics in it. And if the student got through those 75 hours and 12 weeks of training, he'd move on to the advanced trainings. We'll see one of those a little bit later on. Now in trail formation, let me tell you who the pilots are here. In aircraft number 1, Julie Thomas. In aircraft number 2, Sam Harden. In aircraft number 3, Sam's dad, Gary Harden. In aircraft number 4, Ben Thomas, who is the son of Julie Thomas, the flight lead. So we've got 2 generations going here, a very familial and impressive lineup of flyers in the Stearman flight. Also, in the back seat of number 4 is Roy Kinsey, a gentleman from here who has headed up the veterans flight, giving veterans an opportunity to fly in the back, or the front, I should say, of one of these airplanes. Of the helmet, the leather or cloth flying helmet of the cadet. It was one-way communications. But as we see them come by, it looks so great. But it was a handful. This airplane was a handful on the ground. And it earned the nickname Yellow Peril, because it was really susceptible to ground looping, because that tail and that small tail wheel had to be controlled, and if there was a crosswind, that tail would be pushed by the crosswind and maybe make it whirl around on the ground. It was a challenge, and training in World War II was accelerated as time went on and as more pilots were needed. Those 12 weeks of training and 75 hours of instruction in the primary, basic, and advanced stages of training was cut down to about 9 weeks as pilots were needed. Now, straight up, we've seen a heart, we've seen a smiley face, and now we've got a clover leaf. That's a small amount compared to the 405,000 American lives that were lost in World War II. But what was at stake was a life we have now of freedom, rather than a totalitarian state under the Axis powers of Germany and Italy and Japan. The Stearman flight with 220 horsepower motors. Seven-cylinder radial piston engines. Now, in case that term radial doesn't mean much to you, it's a piston engine like we have in our cars, except the cylinders are arranged in a circle around a central propeller shaft, and the power strokes of the pistons goes directly to the crankshaft and right out to the propeller. Come by again for their final pass. I do want to mention something. The father-son team of Sam Harden and Carrie Harden, well, I've become friends with all, but Sam Harden has a business called High Point Coffee Roasters. And he has a brand of coffee from High Point Coffee Roasters called Stearman Blend, which Wayne Boggs and I enjoy about every morning. He lives in Tampa, I live in Ohio, and we get our coffee from High Point Coffee Roasters. It says, for pilots who fly until the last part stops moving. So if you're interested, check High Point Coffee Roasters. There's the break. Now watch how they do this. As they take a 2-second interval between them, they can get from very close together to very far apart to prepare to land. Now they're buzzing the tower. If you remember Top Gun, the movie, when Maverick said to Goose, "Goose, I'm gonna buzz the tower." Goose said, "Don't do it, man." And permission was denied in that movie, and the guy spilled his coffee, but not here. The tower out to our left is right in the middle of the aerobatic, or just beyond the edge of the aerobatic. No, it's in the aerobatic box. And they were going to head on back to Pensacola International. Would you join me in a nice round of applause for the Stearman flight? Julie Thomas, Sam Harden, Carrie Harden, and Ben Thomas with Roy Kinsey as safety observer. There they go. Coming up in just a moment, more trainers as we get ready to put more of these airplanes in the air so you can see exactly what training looked like over the last 80 years.